Hello, hi, and welcome back to another build order tutorial here on my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be looking at a battle cruiser opening into Battle Mech. Going to be fun. Very excited to get to share with you guys this build. A lot of people have been requesting that I do a tutorial on it, so here we are. And this is, of course, taken from one of my games played on stream. If you guys don't know already, I do stream 6 days a week. Link in the description down below. As well, if you enjoy what you've been seeing here on YouTube, please consider subscribing, as we are trying to get YouTube partner. Every little bit helps. So for this build, we do go for a standard barracks first with gas after racks. The reason for this, of course, is so that we can get the faster command center. For SCV scouting, we do SCV scout at 18 supply or 19 supply. It's really up to you. I like to go for a 18 supply usually, just because I like to get there a little bit faster, just to get a little bit of a head start on any roach all-in or baneling all-in that could come my way. But 19 supply is definitely a little bit more standard. So sending the SCV out, barracks is going to be finished in a second here, and we will be building our first Reaper. And that Reaper will, of course, immediately cross the map to go try to be annoying. And then the barracks SCV is, of course, going to go down to the natural and build our command center. Nice and standard way to open. So our SCV scout really only has one job here, and that's to see if we're getting cheesed. If we see a hatchery that is building and it's almost done by the time we get here, then we know that the pool did not come before the hatchery. If you were ever curious or you couldn't really tell the timing, you can always just go into the main base and check the pool timing yourself. But because I'm rather experienced, I don't really feel the need to do that too often. So because I was paying attention, I just turn around and go home the second I see that hatchery, nice and efficiently. So at home we go second depot, follow our Reaper up with a Marine, and of course a factory. That way we can get our Hellions going in a little bit. So Reaper's going to cross the map, and like I said, his job is to be as annoying as possible. We do have a time limit here, and that is when the queen finishes. That is when we can't do any more damage. So basically just trying to do as much as we can in that time, be as annoying as possible. Back at home after the Marine, of course, we build a reactor so that we can swap these two buildings. And of course, our second gas geyser comes down after the factory. And that will also be fully saturated to 3/3 once that finishes. Reaper, now that the queen is out, can't really do anything, so the Reaper is just going to bounce between the two third bases to see if we have a third. Usually the Zerg would be building one by now. Usually the Zerg would be building one by the time the Reaper gets across the map. So because we don't actually see a third base in this scenario, I do try to go for a maneuver where I go into the main base with the Reaper. The reason for this is I want to see the tech. I want to be able to identify if we got a lair, if we got a roach horn, if we got a baneling nest, what's going on. So luckily for me, the Zerg doesn't have his queen in position to deny the scout, so we just get to go in for free. We don't really see anything too special. We do see the lair building, which is a very big tell for us that something weird is happening. Usually Zergs don't go for lairs that quickly unless they're trying to get some kind of tech out. So something that we're going to try to keep in mind here. Back at home, beginning our depot wall off after we build our first two Hellions. As well, when the starport finishes, we chuck down our fusion core as soon as we have the money for it. So something that I want to note here, because we did see that our Zerg opponent is not going for a third base, our safety option here is to build a Banshee. And if the Zerg player does commit with roaches, then we let the Banshee finish. And if the Zerg just doesn't attack at all, we just cancel the Banshee. Or alternatively, we could just let the Banshee finish to be extra safe if we can't identify what's going on. But if you can always save the money and just cancel it. So the Reaper scout did actually, we missed it, but it went back into the Zerg, and we did see a roach horn building. But because the roach horn was kind of late, it didn't worry me too much. If it was a little earlier, I probably would have built a bunker in the natural. But it was a pretty late Roach Warren, so I wasn't too worried in this particular game. So continuing to build Hellions, I did lose one of my Hellions as well as a mistake. So I should have 6 right now, but instead we have 5. But that's totally fine. As soon as the Hellions leave, making sure you drop down your 3rd command center. Never leave the base without walling off, because if I leave right now and there were 20 Zerglings waiting for me to leave, then the game is over, unfortunately. So always make sure you're walled off. Another important thing to note is the 3rd command center does come before the 1st battle cruiser. That's something that that's a common mistake when people do this build. A lot of people will build the battle cruiser before the command center. That's not the case at all. You want to make sure command center comes down first, and then you start your battle cruiser. And as you get more money here, we're also going to drop down our 3rd and 4th gas geyser. That way we can get all the gas we need for our battle mech transition. The Hellions at this stage are really just going to try to bounce between all the bases and try to find a run-by opportunity. I'm very forward with my Hellions, so if I ever see an opportunity to do damage, I will personally always go for it, no matter how risky. And this is one of those situations that isn't too risky, because there are no queens in position to defend the Hellions, and there are only just a small group of Zerglings. So this is like relatively straightforward for me to try to take this engagement. Trying to kill the Lings as quickly as possible. Going up the ramp if you can, because the ramp is always a good position for the Hellions to kill a lot of Zerglings quickly. And then just, yeah, going for drones. It's also a great opportunity to scout. We do see a Spire, which is very valuable scouting information. And back at home, we do drop down our 2nd and 3rd factory as soon as we have the gas for it. And yeah, the Hellions just doing as much as they can. We actually get to kill 18 workers, which is phenomenal for us. Excuse me while I drink some water. So battlecruiser, gonna take care of our overseer friend. I'm never really in a rush to send the battlecruiser across the map. The only time I would really teleport a BC instantly is if I scouted that the Zerg was just very underprepared for battlecruiser. But since we saw a lot of queens and we saw a Spire that was almost done, not going to teleport the BC because that would just mean that we would lose the BC for free. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to get Yamato cannon, and we're going to get a 2nd battlecruiser, and then we're going to start going in with Yamatos and just teleport back home after we use the Yamatos. A very, very efficient way of getting some good high value kills. Something I guess I can rewind for this a little bit. So after you float the command center, you want to make sure you start your 5th and 6th gas geyser as quickly as possible. I actually started them a little late this game. Ideally, you want these gas geysers to finish when this command center lands. That way you can be mining gas instantly. But a little bit of a mistake again, no big deal. Also, when you float the command center, you want to start your eBay, and you want to start depot walling. This is the correct timing for the eBay no matter what. Since we did see not the Muta, but the Spire, we know that Muta are an option. So we always want to be prepared for that, building a turret in every single base, as well as a couple other ones to protect our production and our units. Always helpful. We do have battlecruisers out, so if our opponent does go for Muta, we do have the battlecruisers to defend, which is also a really helpful option. Out of the factories, we do get 2 tech labs, and we're going to be pumping out 4 tanks. And then once 4 tanks are out, we're going to be pumping out nothing but cyclones. The reason for the 4 tanks is because we want something to zone out roaches, because there is a very common timing by Zerg where the Zerg can come up with a bunch of corruptors and a bunch of roaches, and the roaches can kill the turrets, and then the corruptors can kind of just fly in and kill the battle cruisers for free. So what the tanks will do is they'll actually protect the turrets, and the roaches won't be able to kill the turrets that way, which means the turrets will protect the battle cruisers from the corruptors, which means we don't lose the game to that all in, if that makes sense. So there are several parts to that, but it all comes together nicely. So like I mentioned, we do get turrets in every single main base and a few extra ones to protect our tanks out here. Battle cruisers, once the second battle cruiser pops, I like to send it across the map. The timing works out really nicely here because Yamato is just about to be finished, which means we have the option to Yamato Queens. Our Zerg player didn't have Corruptors out quite yet, so we do get to kill a bunch of Queens here, and of course Yamato is now finished, so getting some even more kills, which is awesome for us. And once the Corruptors come out, you know, since there's only one here, I try to take the fight, but usually I would just teleport back home because Corruptors are a very good counter to Battlecruiser. As you can see, once these three pop, we start to TP back. So back at home as well, continuing that depot wall off, getting our tanks and cyclones, and starting our fourth base right when we have 400 minerals naturally. The thing about Battle Mech in particular is it's a very SCV heavy style. The SCV count that we go for is somewhere between 80 to 90 workers. Personally, I usually sit at about 80, but I think this game I make a few more than necessary. Right now we're at 76, so we're almost at the right SCV count. And I like to float that command center again right when it finishes because the gas income is super important. The faster we can get our fourth base gas geyser, the faster we can ramp up our production. And we also build more factories. The total factory count that we're going for is, I guess I can just count, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So the ordering would be, I guess we can rewind one more time here because I don't want to miss this timing for you guys. So we get our first 3 factories, and then we throw down 2 more once we have the gas. And then after the 2 more factories, I believe we throw down 2 armories. And then after the 2 armories, we throw down 3 factories. And for the add-ons, these 2 factories obviously get tech labs. And on the last 3 factories, it's a little bit different. 2 of the factories get tech labs, and the last factory gets a reactor. So in total, we have 2 reactors and 6 tech labs. And of course, out of the reactors, we're going to be producing Hellions, and out of the factories with tech labs, we're going to be producing Cyclones. And that's how you macro with Battle Mech. A lot of factories. And it's very important we get this gas geyser as quickly as we can. Like I mentioned, very gas intensive build. So I will rewind because I'm getting ahead of myself again. So battle cruisers have teleported home. So the thing about Battle Mech is you're allowed to be on the map quite frequently. You're not really worried about Zerglings catching your units or Mutas catching your units because Hellion Cyclone is really good at just killing anything mobile on the map. So if Zerglings try to surround you, you have Blue Flame, and there's not much a Zerg can do to stop you from just denying creep, poking at roaches. And since the Zerg only has Ravagers now, we actually get to take a lot of good free trades here. And killing creep tumors, targeting down queens. Just look how quickly a Ravager dies with the Cyclone upgrade. It's a very kind of... And this is why I enjoy it so much, because as the Terran in this situation, you get to have so much fun. It's very enjoyable to just mess with the Zerg, lock on and back off, and just toy with them. So I hope you guys have some fun doing this on your own games. So as you get extra money, you do tend to float a lot since we do have 86 workers. Just start to throw down more command centers. The strength of Battle Mech is also how quickly we can take bases safely. So taking bases just as quickly as you can, honestly. It doesn't even matter if you can saturate the bases. Just being able to float as many out and taking as much map control as possible is really good for us. So I do move out here. I get fungled because I got caught off guard by the quick infestors, but again, just pulling back with the Cyclones every time the roaches get close, trying to take fights. Battle cruisers, important to keep alive because the battle cruisers kind of prevent the Corruptors from just YOLOing in and trying to kill bases. The Zerg player wants to keep the Corruptors alive because without them he has no counter to the Battlecruiser. So definitely want to keep them alive as long as you can, using the teleport whenever they get low. So versus my opponent's style this game, he does go for Roach Ravager, so I do start to throw down a few more tanks for zoning, but the majority of my army will remain just Cyclone Hellion because Cyclones are very good versus Roach. And yeah, just poking as much as I can. Once I get closer to max, I do start to dual prong, so I'll take half of my army on the left side of the map, and I believe I will eventually take another army on the right side. Attacking at two places at once is another big strength of this style, because the Zerg player does tend to go for some kind of tech unit like Vipers or Infestors to deal with the battle mech. If you can split that Zerg's attention on two halves of the map, it actually becomes much easier to start picking off bases and picking off army units for free. So as you can see here, just how quickly we're able to lock on to a hatchery and snipe it off. It's very efficient in that sense as well. Coming down here, I don't think we get this. Oh, maybe we do. Yeah, again, we kill the hatchery. I didn't have enough Hellions with this force, so the Zerglings are going to be able to take care of that. But if literally like 2 or 3 more Hellions over here would have made the difference. So just a small blunder by me. And again, just poking at roaches. These roaches are off creep, so pretty easy fight for me to take there. And then macro-wise, just continuing with our upgrades. 2-2 is just about to finish. Taking our extra bases, building more and more command centers. I also throw down 2 more starports with reactors. This is more of a safety thing. It's not really necessary this match. This is just like in case the Zerg morphs Broodlords. You always want to have the ability to make a bunch of Vikings or a bunch of Liberators on the spot, because really what you're trying to do is counter your opponent's army as often as possible. So having as many options as you can is really nice, of course. Battle cruisers just running around the map with their teleport available, trying to snipe off as much as they can. The Corruptors will eventually deal with these. The battle mech on the other side of the map. I really love dual prong attacks with this style. It's so nice. We do get caught though. Zerg does get to kill a bunch of free battle mech here, but something I want to note is if we look at the supply as it goes down, we have so much production back at home. The second we start producing off of these factories again, like we're just gonna shoot back up to 200 supply in 1.5 production cycles at most. So it's why it's very strong. You can remax very quickly. That's why we have, 86, 90 SCVs, is because we can remax over and over again. So taking very frequent trades is something that's very strong here. But yeah, building up a few more tanks. I do start to throw down some Liberators. Liberators versus Ravager Corruptor, probably not the smartest choice by me, but can still be effective as long as we get Liberator range, which we are, and that's almost done. Again, still just taking more command centers, expanding, taking map control, building sensor towers, all that good stuff. And we do go for our final push here. We spread our tanks. The Liberators come in and siege, but they are going to just get biled down pretty quickly. As I said, Ravager, not the best comp to do Liberator verse, but it still works because we're just maxing out so quickly this game. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's Battle Mech in a nutshell. I will definitely try to upload some more games of me playing Battle Mech here on YouTube as more examples for you guys, as this is definitely one of my most common and favorite styles to play right now. So yeah, if you guys do have any questions about this game though, please leave a comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Keep on keeping on.